Dark web users of Reddit, was there ever a point in your use that you felt you were genuinely in danger? What happened? Webcam turned itself on once. That was scary. I immediately unplugged it and my network cable. Ran 3 complete scans of my system for malware and viruses. Found nothing. Hasn't happened since. Not the modern dark web, but back in the days of Usenet, I posted some harsh criticism in alt.religion.scientology. Yes, that was a typo for Scientology, but I'm leaving it for context of a bunch of posts. The online threats were funny, but when I started getting death threats by mail, I backed off. I once bought a bit of weed, and I received a blackmail letter threatening me with awful things like sending CP and calling the police if I didn't send 1 BTC, $1,000 at the time. I was scared senseless, but nothing ever happened. Always check the reviews before buying anything. Don't frequent it a lot, but once I accidentally left my browser in full screen and a stranger in a chat room asked me if my curved monitor was nice. Freaked me out a bit. Not dark web, but I wanted to install Windows 7 on my old PC, so I installed the ISO file from some website, and everything was working good for like 1 hour. But then adult content started appearing on my screen, and I was like, what the heck? Chat box opened and camera turned on. He told me I have nice eyes, and after that I just turned off the PC and did a clean install of Windows 10. Had a buddy who used to order weed. The distributor got busted, and the postal service let him know there was a suspicious package for him. He could either pick it up or it would be destroyed. Did he go to receive the package? Not unless he's a total idiot. Getting an illegal package addressed to you leaves you with plausible deniability. If you've purchased it anonymously and covered your tracks, you can say, no thanks, I don't want anything to do with that because I have no idea what it is. And that'll be that. You just have to suck up the sunk costs. Trying to pick it up after you've been told it was suspicious and being held will earn you a nice talk with the authorities. The idea that the dark web is an extremely shocking and dangerous place is largely inaccurate. It's mostly weird libertarian blogs and very sterile Amazon-type websites for drugs, complete with reviews of different vendors. I remember my friend showing me where he bought his drugs online and seeing how well kept and formal it was. Like you said, it really was just an Amazon-type website for drugs with friendly and thorough reviews. Even saw in red at the top something along the lines of, website name, moderators will never ask for your password. I was pleasantly surprised to say the least. I've written a couple of books about the dark web, which means I've spent a bit of pretty much every day of the past 8 years poking around inside. Over the years I spoke to, interviewed, and even visited many dark web identities, drug dealers and operators of darknet markets mostly. I attended the trial of one of the most evil people on the planet, Lux, the owner of Her to Thekor, a child torture site. Turned out to be a friendless, unhappy kid who built his evil empire from his childhood bedroom, with his parents blissfully unaware of what was happening under their noses. The only time I felt even slightly in danger, despite all this nosing around in there, was when I helped uncover a hitman scam. The owner of Bessa Mafia, the most profitable murder for hire site in history, came after me when I started writing about him. He made loads of threats. You don't know who I am, but I know who you are and where you live. But that wasn't scary, as I had access to the back door of his site thanks to a friendly hacker, and knew he didn't really want to hurt anybody. It took a bit of a darker turn when he told the people who had signed up to work as hitmen on his site, and who he made video themselves burning cars with signs on them to advertise how legit his site was, then never sent them the promised money for doing so. That I was the owner of the site who had ripped them off. That could have become ugly, but luckily even the thugs weren't dumb enough to believe him. The only other time I've been a bit nervous was when Homeland Security wanted to have a friendly meeting with me on one of my trips to the US to attend a trial. They were friendly, but scary too. A child torture site. God, the world is messed up. I remember finding a website in high school where you could sell your baby. I thought it was a joke, but the more I looked into it seemed legit. So I called my teacher over and showed it to him. He was like, okay, thank you, I'll handle it. Never asked him what happened, but the site was down shortly thereafter. Maybe he reported it, I don't know. I've never personally felt I was in actual danger, so to speak, since I take proper precautions. But early on I did accidentally come across a site, forum while exploring, that was filled with snuff photos of women people had assaulted and then knocked out or killed. Shut down my browser pretty quick after that, but felt uneasy for a long time after. I've gotten 2 of those accidentally. I was on a file sharing program Emule, and they were labeled as something else. One was a young Russian, I think, soldier being killed, and one was a woman. In both cases, it was sickening. I wanted to contact the police for the woman, but I didn't. What good would it do? Plus I thought there was a small chance it was faked. The Russian guy though, it was not faked. In real life, I had an acquaintance who liked sick websites, pictures of people in car crash, pictures of people in a morgue, anything where there was dead people. I stopped talking to him because the stuff he sent me just kept getting sicker. Full ref, all I sent him was jokes and images, movies of girls. It makes me sad that there are people who are into this. Seriously, I was disgusted and horrified, and then felt sad 4 days also. If other people weren't into it, then maybe there would be no market for this stuff. I was a casual orderer of the dark web for a while and got pretty big into it and started buying slightly bulky packages of drugs. If you knew the markets for a while, then you would know one called AlphaBay was the best of the best. The Amazon of drugs and fraud would be its best description. However, it went down mysteriously one day and everyone assumed the owners just scammed everyone for their Bitcoin. Partially true, but in the background it was actually seized the D. Everyone flocked to a new site called Hansa, which had some sketchy design features, but it was the next best alternative. Turns out the Dutch police took over the site, and with cooperation of multiple governments, ran a drug distribution onion site. With over $1 million of transactions for around a month, they were gathering information from unsuspecting users, including me, who bought with faulty security practices. Now this is where I started freaking out. Imagine trafficking drugs through the mail. And the Attorney General at the time, Jeff Sessions, makes a speech live on television that he was going to crack down, and explicitly explains how everyone on Hansa was in serious trouble because they have been gathering data for over a month, and in a big power move closes the site and puts up a banner in its place saying everyone who has purchased will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. During his live speech, I was extremely anxious for a month, as many arrests did occur. But luckily, I guess I wasn't important enough, and nothing happened to me. Everything feels government-owned. I used to frequent drug sites. They would go down for weeks at a time, then pop up again, have weird prices. Sellers were different. It made the dark web feel like a labyrinth more than a ruleless wasteland. There's hitmen, human trafficking and snuff films and such, but a vast majority of these sites are scams, asking you to send them Bitcoin. A small portion of users on the dark web would be there for this sort of stuff. However, buying drugs online is quite popular and widespread. Single vendors can have $500,000 plus in lifetime sales. You use PGP to encrypt your address, so only the seller of the drugs has access to your private info. If your package is seized, they'll have no proof you ordered it, unless they seize your computer and you have that information stored on it. You can use Tails USB to avoid this. Even if your packages get seized, you'll often get a love letter saying what they seized, and there is no follow-up after that. I own a fairly rare car that had a rare error code. I looked it up on Google, and there was only one other person on the car makers forum that had the same error, and this guy took months and months going back and forth between car shops and the forum thread to try to get the issue fixed. Everyone on the forum was pitching in to try to help him, so I kept going through this long forum thread to try to figure out if he ever fixed it, and suddenly there's no more replies from the guy. Everyone was scratching their heads for a while. We thought he had maybe gotten the issue fixed and didn't bother to update us on it. Then one day, a news article popped up about a really rich guy who died in a Thai jail cell, and then we connected the two stories and they matched up. The same make and model of the car in the news article matched up with his car, and they were both claiming to be in Thailand at the time. So what happened was that same guy, who was still talking on the forums, got raided by the Thai police around the same time. He stopped replying to the forum. Turns out that he was running one of the biggest dark web marketplaces where drugs were being sold and exchanged. It had something like $1 million in revenue per day, and he was hiding out in Thailand while living in luxury. They found him dead in his jail cell a few days later. They claim he died of suicide. I suppose you were talking about Kazis, founder of AlphaBay. The dude was stupid enough to use his real email ID the one he was using for LinkedIn and all legal businesses, taxes, etc., to send welcome messages to people who signed up on the website. Be safe, boys and girls. Don't give out your information or communicate with others. And if you plan on purchasing anything, use a secure Linux OS like Tails. Use private keys. Connect to a public Wi-Fi spot, not your house. Encrypt all messages. Use multi-signature markets, so your chances of losing your Bitcoin lessen. Escrow preferably. Never send your Bitcoins from a wallet attached to you directly to the seller. Tumble your coins first, and when the package arrives, don't open it for a few days. A friend of mine gave me all this info and told me I should help you guys out. I've noticed you've been watching the video, but haven't subscribed yet. Subscribing is important to me. So, that's it. Thank you for watching.